Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose, and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, imagination. I'm Vince Kramer, your host, and welcome to the Miracle You, where you learn about the magic of living your life by finding the example in real life.
It really comes down to making a difference in the world, to solving problems. That's why we're here. We chose that specific difference or those specific problems that we were meant to solve as we came into this world, and we spent a lifetime, no matter how long that was, 9 years, 12 years, 50 years, 60 years, we spent a lifetime building the gifts and talents that come together to allow us to make that difference, to help us solve those problems. But how do we get started? We feel like this is as good as the world gets, or I'm not equipped to do what it is that I'm being called to. But the answer is you are. And it really comes down to finding what matters to you, finding where you're being called to make that difference, and then be willing to do in this now something to move you towards that end item. We have a tendency to look towards the end and say, oh my God, the end is so big. I don't know how I'm going to get there. And in the I don't know hows, we limit ourselves. We stop ourselves from dreaming. We stop ourselves from taking the next step. But once you find what matters and you're willing to take action on it, you're going to make that difference. You're going to solve that problem. Because truly, that's why you're here, and the universe is conspiring to help you. I'm with John and Mark X. Cronin today. John and Mark are the father-son team that founded John's Crazy Socks, the world's largest sock store. They have created a social enterprise with a mission to spread happiness. John is an entrepreneur who just happens to have Down syndrome. They have been named Entrepreneurs of the Year and testified before Congress, spoken at the UN. John even became sock buddies with President George Bush. They have bootstrapped their startup into a multi-million-dollar business. More than half their employees have differing ability. Their giving program starts with 5% pledge profits to the Special Olympics and has raised over $450,000 for their charity partners. Every day, John proves that Down syndrome will never hold him back. John and Mark Cronin, are you ready to share the miracle of you with the imagination?
You ready to do this?
Yes, I am.
Is this going to be good?
Thank you, mate.
All right.
We are going to have a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us, John and Mark. I know that there's so much more to you and the father and son team than I shared in the bio. Could you expand on it a little bit?
Sure. Well, Vince, one of the reasons that we wanted to connect with you is because we want to share both our mission, but some of our personal story of, as I said to you before, there's that old line, it's often darkest right before the dawn. And we want to share how we turned what seemed to be a problem into an opportunity, into something good, right? So, today, John's Crazy Socks is a thriving business. We got 31 employees. We ship around the world, right?
Yeah, we did.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's not how it began, right? So, we'll go cast back to the fall of 2016. I was helping run a business that shut down overnight. So I'm 58 years old, without an income. And I'm very entrepreneurial, which in many ways makes me unemployable. You know, so I was starting some online businesses. And where were you?
I'm in school. I went to a Huntington High School, and I split my time in real tech program.
So here's something that you and your audience may not know. In the United States, if you qualify with a disability, you can stay in the school system until you either graduate or turn 21. It's frequently known as the 21-year-old cliff, because when you're in school, everything is right there in front of you. But once you're done, you're on your own. And there's often not much out there for a person with differing abilities. So John, you were in your last year of school, right?
Yes, I am.
And he's looking around. Same time I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm starting some online businesses. He's looking around saying, what am I going to do when I'm done with school? And what were you looking at?
A school program and work. I don't like the object I don't like.
He didn't see anything he liked.
Mhm.
And that's not unusual, right? There aren't a lot of great opportunities. But John here, he's a natural entrepreneur.
Yes,
So
yes.
instead of seeing that as a problem, he turned it into an opportunity and said, look, if I don't see a job I want, I'll go and create it. And what'd you tell me, buddy?
I said I want to go into business with my dad. I want to have a nice father-son business together.
So Vince, I'm a fortunate man. I have 3 sons. John is the youngest of those 3. And this is one I can work with. So, you know, so we said, great, we're going to go and we'll create a business together. What was your first idea?
A fun store.
A fun store. He'd walk around saying we should open a fun store. So, well, what the heck is that? What are we going to do? Right?
Right.
Even if it turns out that may be exactly what we did. And then what was your second idea?
A second idea, a food truck.
Where'd you get that from?
I got an idea from the a movie Chef. The movie about father-son bonding over a food truck.
So
Oh,
a food
awesome.
truck, that seemed like a fun idea. And we're thinking about what we're going to make. And I'm thinking a little bit, I don't know if I want to be in a food truck all day. But then it didn't matter because we ran into a problem. What was the problem?
We can't cook.
Yeah, we can't cook. So the food truck wasn't really going to work. But then, right before Thanksgiving in 2016, John had his eureka moment.
I did. I want to start creating socks. Why socks? It's fun, it's colorful and creative. I'll always live be me. I want to create socks my entire life.
Right? John had worn these crazy, colorful socks. We used to drive around looking for him. So he comes, and you had the name, and you had drawings of a website, right? And figured, okay, if John loves these socks so much, surely we could find other people that loved them just as much. We could find our tribe. So at that point, we went the lean startup route. We didn't do a lot of analysis, a lot of planning. We said, we'll get something up and running and see how people respond, right? And that's what we did. We built a website. We got a little inventory. We're bootstrapping, right? And when you're doing that, you have to make use with what you have and be grateful for that, right? So we took out my cell phone and we'd make videos. And who was in those videos?
I am.
What were you talking about?
We talk about socks.
And we shared those. The only marketing we did, we put them out on Facebook. And we noticed people started sharing those videos. They like seeing you in those videos.
I
huh?
do.
So what day did we open?
We opened on Friday, December 9th, 2016.
We took a chance, right? And in those first 2 weeks, we shipped 452 orders and had $13,000 in revenue. And we said, we got something here, right? And we learned a few things. One,
One, people want to buy stocks.
Two,
Two, people want to buy stocks for me.
they wanted to buy from John, right?
Mhm.
They liked the idea that we had already pledged 5% of our earnings to the Special Olympics. They liked the personal touch, right? What was going in every package?
I think you know a candy.
Thank you note and candy, right? They liked the father-son team. They liked, and this caught us a little off guard. We didn't expect it. People found John inspirational, that a young man with Down syndrome would do this. And by doing, we also learned that this young man
And an old man.
and this old man, we could sell socks, right? So we went forward from there. And we created a different type of business model. It's a social enterprise. So we have both a social mission and a business mission, and they feed off of each other, right? But overall, what are we doing, pal? What's our mission?
Spreading happiness.
Spreading happiness.
Spreading happiness. How awesome.
And we get to do things the way we want to do them, right? We don't get to blame headquarters. We don't get to blame the board. It's us. And we get to, it's very liberating. We get to live the life and run a business the way you would dream of doing it. And we have no other excuses, right?
So let me ask you this, Mark. It's not easy for people to take a wake-up call like losing your job at 58 years old. It's a tough time to find work once you're 58 years old, for sure. And you had the entrepreneurial spirit, but what was the driving force for you to say, look, I've got to start a business here? Was it supporting your family? Was it just finding fulfillment in yourself? What was the driving force?
I think there's always multiple forces driving us. Only in novels do characters do something for one purpose, right? I had started businesses before. I had run successful businesses, and I had run some that failed. So at that point, things looked pretty bleak. And I remember holding my wife and saying, babe, it's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out, hold tight, and we're going to find a way forward. And yes, I remember calling up the mortgage company and saying, we're not making a payment this month. We're going to figure this out, but giving you a heads up, we don't have that. So yes, were we motivated to bring some money in and pay for things? Absolutely. But we've always been motivated by what difference can we make? What can you do? I mean, what do you say? You're always saying there are two things that matter. What are they?
Gratitude and do for others.
Right? Gratitude and do for others.
That's right.
What impact could we have? What difference could we make? Don't get me wrong, and this is true in our personal lives and our business. The money matters. We like to live indoors, right? You got to pay the bill.
Yeah.
But in the end, you got to have a mission and purpose that's greater than that. You got to have something larger than yourself.
So this is really what Imagine Miracles is all about, helping people find their purpose, step into living that life. Did you always feel that calling to make a difference in the world?
Yes. I look back on my life, even as a kid, and I see a couple of strains run through, even when I didn't have language for it. One, I was always organizing and being entrepreneurial. Sometimes it was for good, and sometimes it was for frivolous. So like when I was in college, I organized on Wednesday nights a keg party every night, every Wednesday in my dorm, right? But I also organized something called the Lunchbox Theater, where we put on plays and poetry readings and concerts during a lunch hour at the school. And it was just great fun to go and do that. So I was always doing things like that. And I guess you'd call me, if you want to make it a compliment, you'd say I'm an idealist, maybe. If you want to kind of make a backhanded compliment, you'd say he's a dreamer. I always thought we could go and do something big that would matter. Early in my life, I worked in the healthcare field. I wound up leading New York City Medicaid health. I thought I could change the world. Now I do something smaller. We sell socks, but you still want to make that impact.
And maybe even making an impact at a bigger level than you would have in that job or that position.
It's different, right? It's different. And part of what we get to experience, right? Because we're so driven, an important facet to what we do is showing what people with differing abilities can do. And that it starts with hiring people, but that's not enough. It's showing the world. And that's been somewhat transformative because it has helped me to understand how to look at everybody and see possibilities, right? It's part of what we preach. When you're going to hire, focus on what people can do, not what they can't do, right? And before you tell me, well, maybe you could do that in some places or something, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, if I want to start a basketball team, I want LeBron James on my team. I don't care what his SAT scores were. And I don't care if he can do trigonometry. I want to know, can he play hoops? And that's also part of the message in our business. We are not a not-for-profit. We are a for-profit. And we're now, we're coming up on our 5th anniversary, which is a big marker. Most businesses never get that far. And we're a multi-million-dollar business. That's based on spreading happiness. It's based on love. It's based on doing for others. And that's sustainable. When the pandemic hit, that's sustainable. If all we were doing was selling socks, we'd be in trouble.
That's for sure. And as we're looking at your experience, and John and you, Mark, coming together as a business team, there's so many parents out there that would look at, yes, it's great to work with my son, but miss the fact that the success of the John's Crazy Socks is John's name on the label, and John working with you to be part of this family business. How did you bring yourself to be willing to open yourself and open the world up to experiencing John and your successes in the business?
Well, I don't think we did anything new. This has been part of our relationship all along. We've been true partners from the beginning. And this is very important, right? As you've already noted, John, you're the face of the business, right?
Yes, I am.
And John has lots of talent in terms of connecting with people and driving home a message, right?
Right.
It's important that we don't put him in the back room. He's right up front. And I think one of the reasons that our partnership works is we know we both need each other, right? We have the same mission, but I couldn't do this without him. I dare say you can't do it without me, right?
Yes, yes, it is. I never was my dad
right?
because my dad tell me my strengths. I'm good at, and I'm learning all the time because it's a really good experience I have now.
Well, but let's also make sure that we share, some reality. So our middle son was working with us in the business for a while. And I love him dearly. And he loves me. But we could not work together. And that's just the reality. It's not always going to go. Um, but sometimes, or not all, we often are asked by other parents, you know, how can we do this for our kid? Or, how could we get started? Or we want to run a business like that. And sometimes I want to tell them, well, the first thing I do is I'd get John to be my partner. Right?
Right.
But each of us have to find the path and the way that works for us.
Mm-hmm.
But we got asked a question not long ago when speaking to a high school group. We speak to a lot of groups. And a student said, well, who did you need to ask permission to do this? And that's a fascinating notion to explain. We didn't have to ask anybody. And you never have to ask anybody. Right? Here's an example, and it's how we're trying to live. We want to create a world, and we want to live in a world the way we dream it can be. So not long ago, somebody had called up and they wanted a large bulk order, a special order. We make custom socks. It wasn't custom socks. They were buying like 100 different pair of different socks. Okay. And they said, I want to pay by check. So they're going to mail us a check. And we put the order together. We waited until we got the check before pulling the sock. And it turned out in the intervening time, we sold out of 2 pairs of the socks. And I heard this and I said, well, why didn't we just send it right away? And we do same day shipping. We're very good at it. We get that order, we get it out. And the answer was, well, we had to wait until we got the check. Because that's the way the world usually goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So well, wait a second. Think about it. If that was you placing that order and you said you were going to mail the check, would you mail the check? And everybody in the team said, absolutely. I said, okay. And we've been doing this now more than 4 years. Has anybody not mailed a check? No. So I said, so why don't we live in that world? Why don't we live in a world where we trust people? Where if I'm on the phone and you tell me, Vince, Mark, I'm going to send you a check, I believe you. Now we could get burned. And if you violate my trust, I'm going to respond accordingly. But why don't we start there? Why don't we live in that world, right? Which I think we do that today, but it's kind of the romantic view of the past. If you had the corner store, and if you showed up and you didn't have your wallet, they said, that's okay. Or if you were a little short this week, that's okay, because I know you're good for it. Well, in our business, I think that we're not just building a customer base, we're building a community. And so that's what we do, right? And it's not cold, you can't, we're talking about people who call us up and tell us something. And so you have a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But one of our folks at that meeting said, can we do that? And the answer is, we can do whatever we want to do.
Right.
And that's both liberating and challenging, right? It gives us authority, but it gives us responsibility of how we use that authority.
Exactly. And it's so important that we start moving back into community. I mean, we're community animals. We're really truly here for each other. And I love what you shared earlier, that look for what people can do and not what they can't do, because our individual gifts and talents is what brings us happiness, brings us joy, gives us fulfillment. So when we're happy, when we're fulfilled, we're going to give to the world, we're going to give to our business, we're going to give to our community. And there's always ways to find people with the gifts and talents to fill the holes that you need filled. And then that brings happiness. And John, I've got a question for you, John. What why is it so important to have a happy world?
I'm very funny. Right now, I just want to be like a big, a twin bag, twin bag. A twin bag is like I'm showing the world I want to be, and a wonderful you have right now. And I tell my advice: follow your heart, follow your dream, work hard, so you can do, make it a better place.
Right? We get to do that, right? Don't you? And John, really does inspire us, right? He's things we can do, and the giving, and it's a good way to live. It's a good way to do business. The more we do for others, the better off we are.
That's for sure. And like you said, John, when you come from the heart, that's where the happiness comes from. And I think that's why it's so great to have your face on the company, John, because you're coming from your heart. You're a bundle of love. And I think that's what the world needs, is a bundle of love to help them see that they can live that way also.
Right.
That's who you are, right?
Because of who I am.
Right. But, Vince, I got to share something with you.
Okay.
So John does terrific things, and he's inspiring. And you stood before 22,000 people at Madison Square Garden. You've spoken before 5,000 people at a Microsoft conference, right?
Right.
You've spoken it before the Congress. These are great things. But I also want to let you know something about John.
Okay.
He's the guy who's sitting next to me in the car and texts me, "Dad, I just farted." That's your inspiration.
It's really good. It's really good about me. Like, just like when I go down to DC,
Right?
and I go testifying, and look at me, because I know what I can do. I show the world, make the better place of who I am, because I testify it, because I representing my company and my employees, hiring with disability, and hiring with
You do.
I have Donald Trump never hold me back. I can always give me a chance. I know I can do.
It's
and I know you can too. And you are making that difference too, for your company, your employee, for your country, for the world. We're actually getting close to our time. So I have two really important questions. First of all, John, what's your favorite crazy sock?
What's your favorite pair?
My favorite pair of socks is I downed it from superhero socks.
It's because we're not showing video. It's partially because it's one of the socks he designed.
Oh, okay.
Down syndrome superhero sock. And in the end, so it's got the superhero on it, but it's also got his face on it.
Ah.
Right? So plus, those are some of the socks that his buddy, President George H.W. Bush, wore, and tweeted out pictures of wearing those socks and thanking his buddy, John Cronin.
I was so happy.
And connecting that to him signing the Americans with Disabilities Act, which changed the world. Right. So that's
You
pretty
know,
special.
John, I think if I had a picture, a pair of socks with my face on it, it would be my favorite too.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Mark, is there any piece of guidance that you could share with people you've shared so many wonderful things, but just one more parting piece of guidance to help people find not just the success, but the fulfillment that you found in your business with John?
Well, I can share this. It's find what matters to you. Find, and to me that's always going to involve something outside of ourselves, something larger. But it does mean, understand what matters, what's a dream, and go pursue that. Earlier today, was on a call with a young woman who has just left employment at a social service agency. And she was asking for advice on where to go next and what to do. And we were talking for a while. And she was talking about how someday she wants to do a podcast. And she was telling me about the issues she wants to do it around. And I listened and I said, okay, so what are you doing today? Why do you say you need to do that in the future? Why don't you get started today? And that doesn't mean you have to do the podcast today. But what's the next step to make that happen? What's stopping you? And we're very strong on the entrepreneurial spirit. And entrepreneurs are people who see problems as opportunities, who want to go out and have an impact on the world, and are willing to take that step and take that chance. And I encourage people to do that. In the end, it's about belief. If this is something that matters, believe in it. Believe in yourself and go do it. The worst thing that happens is you fail. But that's only temporary, right? Every failure we have is just tuition that we're paying to learn that lesson. Right? And I'll leave two kind of overlapping lines. Seth Godin, a writer, a marketeer, will say, in the end, the person who succeeds is the one who has failed the most because they keep getting up. And if you think about boxing, the sport of boxing, the champion is the one who always comes out for another round. So
Awesome.
there it is, right? I started something 63 now. We got challenges ahead of us, we got pressures, but how wonderful. And I never in a million years could have predicted I would be here when I was 25 or 35 or 45. Right? There's
That's
always
for sure.
more.
That's
And
for
we
sure.
can go do that.
Excellent. Mark and John, could you tell us how people can get in touch with you, learn more about John's Crazy Socks?
Yeah, okay, at johnscrazysocks.com.
And here's the thing. When you buy from us, you're not just getting socks. We're now the world's largest sock store. Imagine that, Vince. John started this as a dream, and he now owns the world's largest sock store. But here's what it is. When you get those socks, not only are you getting socks, you're getting a thank you note and candy from John. And when you buy from us, you enable us to hire people with different abilities. And you enable us to give back. And you're spreading happiness. You're getting this whole wonderful experience. So please help support and join our mission, become part of it at johnscrazysocks.com.
And all that information will be available on the show page. Just look for John and Mark's show page on themiracleu.com. All that information will be available. Because I got you here and you're the CEO of the biggest sock store in the world, John, I want to put in a request for you to get bigger socks because I've got size 15 shoes. And I need some bigger socks so I can wear some more crazy socks myself.
Thank you.
Well, we have, he has a brother who's 6'7" with like big clown feet. So we know that. We do have XL and king size socks, and we're adding more all the time.
Excellent.
Right.
John and Mark Cronin, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to be with you. Now I can say that I've held an audience with a couple stars who've been in Congress, have been in the UN, they've been in Madison Garden, and now they've been on the Miracle You podcast. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. On behalf of Mary, my business partner, and my wife, and the entire Imagine Miracles team, I want to wish each and every one of you a miracle day.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleyou.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 mind-awakening steps toward your unique purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleyou.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.